Sometimes there are tragedies in motorsports, and sometimes small, stupid, silly things lead to those tragedies. As you've probably gathered from the title, this video is about Jüri Vips. Some of you might be familiar with him, while others might not, but don't worry, we'll cover it all. In today's so-called woke and politically correct world, things can sometimes escalate further than expected, often with devastating consequences. Some people build their careers on the internet, while others have theirs destroyed by it. Unfortunately, Jüri Vips experienced the latter. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into who Jüri Vips is and how one Twitch stream completely changed the trajectory of his career, from being a future F1 hopeful to barely securing any drives. Let's start with the most obvious question. Who is Jüri Vips? Jüri Vips is a 24-year-old racing driver from Estonia. Looking at his junior career, Vips started like every other young driver in karting. He had a solid record, winning several championships such as the Estonian National Championship, Rotax Max Winter Cup, and Rotax Max Grand Finals, among others. Pretty good karting record. In 2016, Vips transitioned to single-seater racing, competing in ADAC Formula 4 and Italian F4 with Prema. He finished 6th in the ADAC series and 5th in the Italian one. In 2017, he stayed in Formula 4 with Prema, and this time he won the championship, marking his first major breakthrough. In 2018, Vips moved up to European Formula 3, where he finished 4th in the standings. It was around this time Red Bull noticed his talent and signed him to their junior driver program. He repeated this performance in the 2019 Formula 3 Championship, securing another 4th place finish. In 2020, Vips was announced as the test and reserve driver for Red Bull and AlphaTauri. However, due to the pandemic, his race schedule was limited and he didn't compete in a full championship that year. He was set to compete in Super Formula in Japan, but was unable to due to the COVID restrictions. Instead, he participated in a few races in the Formula Regional European Championship and made a few appearances in Formula 2. In 2021, Vips made his full-time debut in Formula 2 with the High-Tech team, partnering with fellow Red Bull junior Liam Lawson. Interestingly, Vips outperformed Lawson that season, finishing 6th in the championship with 120 points, while Lawson finished 9th with 103 points. It was a solid season for Vips, raising his stock within the Red Bull system. In 2022, Vips stayed in Formula 2 with High-Tech, but now had a new teammate in Marcus Armstrong as Lawson moved to Carlin. Unfortunately, Vips struggled more this season and ended up finishing 11th, while Lawson excelled with his new team, securing 3rd in the standings. This year also marked the beginning of Vips' downward spiral, as a controversy hit that would dramatically alter the course of his career. Many speculate that the incident had a negative impact on his mental health, which may have affected his on-track performance. So, what exactly was the controversy that derailed Jüri Vips' career, and what were its repercussions? Well, here's what happened. Since Liam and Jüri were former teammates and part of the Red Bull Junior program, they were pretty good friends outside the paddock. They used to play video games together regularly. Liam often streamed video games on Twitch and invited Jüri to join him for a game of Call of Duty. During one of these streams, Vips, fully engrossed in the game, seemed to forget he was live and that his audio was being broadcast to a lot of viewers on Liam's stream. When an enemy surprised him in the game, Vips reacted by using the N-word while shooting at the enemy.
Oh yeah.
Jüri. Yeah. That scenario might sound familiar to people who follow video games and streamers. It's very reminiscent of the infamous PewDiePie bridge incident that also involved using the same slur during a live stream. Now, I'm not trying to defend Jüri here. What he said was absolutely wrong, and that word is extremely offensive. Using it so casually shows a lack of maturity, and he should have been more mindful. That being said, I do think there's some nuance to consider. Having played games on European servers, I've noticed that in many non-English speaking countries, particularly in the eastern parts of Europe, the weight of that word isn't always understood the same way as it is in countries like the US and UK. In my experience, when some non-English speakers use the N-word, they often don't fully grasp its deeply offensive history, especially in countries that haven't experienced the same racial tensions. Many kids see it being used in TV shows, movies, or hear it in music, particularly in rap, and think of it as slang without realizing the gravity behind it. I think part of the issue here is misinformation. Again, this doesn't excuse what Jüri said, but we all know how bad those old Xbox COD lobbies used to be. In this case, I don't believe Vips used the word intentionally to offend anyone. It was more of a reflexive response in the heat of the moment. However, that doesn't mean it was acceptable. As a driver who travels the world and competes in various countries, Vips should have known better. It was a juvenile mistake, but one with serious consequences. Now let's discuss the fallout from this incident. Red Bull swiftly launched an investigation into the incident and immediately suspended Vips from his test and reserve driver duties. Shortly after, they severed ties with him and announced that Vips was no longer part of their Red Bull Junior driver program. This was a massive blow for Vips. Driver academies, like the Red Bull Junior program, are lifelines for young drivers, especially since competing in junior categories is incredibly expensive, often costing millions of dollars. Losing Red Bull's support severely crippled his chances of progressing further up the motorsport ladder. And losing the test and reserve driver role for an F1 team was like losing the closest opportunity to reach the F1 grid. Just look at the stats. Many test and reserve drivers eventually get a chance to race in Formula 1 or even join the grid full time. Recent examples include Liam Lawson, Oliver Bearman, Nick De Vries, Franco Colapinto, and many more. So losing that position was incredibly tough for Vips. And that brings us to the next question. Was Vips really an F1 candidate? The answer is yes, he was a strong candidate. His career record was very similar to Liam Lawson's, and if it hadn't been for that Twitch controversy, I believe Jüri would be in the position Liam is in right now. This would mean a full-time confirmed F1 drive for the 2025 season and the remainder of this year. It's hard to say whether he would have performed at the same level as Liam, but he definitely would have been in F1. Red Bull selected him as their test and reserve driver for a reason. They don't just pick anyone from their academy, they saw potential in him. The decision by Red Bull to release him gave Lawson the opportunity to take that reserve driver spot. I think even Liam would agree that Vips' exit is the reason he was able to enter F1 so quickly. Otherwise, it would have been much more difficult given how many talented junior drivers there are and how few seats exist in F1. Now, onto one of the main questions. Was Red Bull's punishment too harsh for such a silly, stupid mistake? In my opinion, yes, it was too harsh. There should have been some form of disciplinary action, perhaps community service or history lessons around the usage of offensive words, but to completely kick someone out of the academy and team for that seems excessive. Yes, what he said was wrong, but making an example out of a young driver like that feels unfair. These kids work incredibly hard to reach the top level of motorsport, dedicating their entire childhood to a single goal. To see that effort end over one verbal mistake seems unjust. You have to realize his chances of joining the Formula 1 grid are essentially gone now. It would take a miracle for him to make a comeback. And that brings us to the follow-up question. Where is Jüri Vips now? In October 2022, Vips participated in an IndyCar driver evaluation test with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. He performed well during the test, setting the second fastest time. However, he missed out on securing a full-time IndyCar seat for 2023. Instead, he was signed as the team's reserve driver. Later that season, Vips was given the opportunity to compete in the final two races for the team, replacing Jack Harvey, where he finished 18th and 24th. Vips was in the running for a full-time IndyCar seat in 2024, but the seat eventually went to Pietro Fittipaldi. He was later given another opportunity to race in Portland, where he finished 19th. Decent performances, but no full-time contracts. And finally, how does the future look for Jüri Vips? Right now, his prospects are uncertain. He's in contention for a full-time IndyCar seat in 2025, but the competition is fierce, and there are many other drivers with more substantial backing. While Vips is undeniably talented, it's unfortunate that after 2022, he didn't get many opportunities to showcase his abilities. Still, I hope Vips gets another chance in the future to prove himself. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments below your opinions on Jüri Vips, and I'll see you guys in the next video.